Until today, this was my bench table for every all-in-one and every CPU cooler benchmark test that I did. And it served the purpose pretty well. This is a Lee. Yeah, it's a Lee. It's marketed as a bench table, and it was really okay for the job. But there were quite a few issues with this case. There is absolutely no all-in-one support or radiator support. I always just placed the all-in-one radiator like here, and if it started to fall down, I just held it up with a couple of empty boxes. So a really janky setup and really not the best. And for really big CPU coolers, we do not have until now I never had one which was too big, though it could be better. And then the last and really annoying issue is if you need to replace the AMD backplate on here. You basically do not have anything to keep it in place. You have to lose one hand, and then if you have a really stupid mounting system, it will be one really annoying job. So the test bench served its purpose and all, but no, it's time for an upgrade. And the upgrade will come in form of an old friend. Meet my old friend, the Thermaltake P5. And although the case is not really meant as a bench table, it is just perfect for the job. Without the glass in the front, you are looking at a complete empty table where you can fit the biggest CPU cooler on there. Nobody cares. You have a 480 red space here, which conveniently, if I do not install the backplate, which I won't, would be just free air. So the same method as on my old one, just not so Yankee. Yeah, that's what we are going to do today. We are going to build a new benchmark setup, which inconveniently for myself means that I have to retest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 old all-in-ones or CPU coolers, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new ones incoming. Fuck. This episode is brought to you by CDKeyOffers.com. CDKeyOffers has a wide variety of software or game keys for a fraction of their usual retail price. You can get your usual PC game codes or even library codes for things like Steam, Uplay and Origin. But the most important part for us are the software codes. Here we can get software activation codes for things like MS Office or Windows 10 for a ridiculously cheap price. And right now you can also use the promo code TS20 to get a 20% discount to make the already cheap Windows 10 license even cheaper. If you want to get that nasty activation message away, make sure to head down to the links in the description below and don't forget to use the promo code TS20 for a 20% discount. Okay, so what will we use for this setup? I purchased a ton of things for this. Starting off with the most important one, the thing that will be benchmarked, a Ryzen 3900X. So I could have gone with something cheaper, of course I could, but I was making benchmarks until now with a 3700X. So the issue was with the 3700X that if I used all-in-ones like an Arctic Liquid Freezer 360 and the Fantex Glacier 1 360 MP, the numbers were so close it was starting to get really hard to distinguish which cooler was better than the other one. And I overclocked the 3700X to 4.2 gigahertz or 4.5 on a number, and I pushed the V-code to 1.4, so as high as I could before it started to break down again, but it just wasn't enough. So I needed something that generated even more heat, hence a Ryzen 3900X, which also makes me kind of sad because my editing rig has a 9900K, and here I will be using a 3900X as on a bench table, and I will be looking at it, and I'm thinking to myself that these 15 hours rendering time could have been just half as long. But yeah, there it is, not accessible, but we need it, so okay. Then I went with the ASRock B450 Pro 4. I know B450 is an old chipset, but honestly I don't care, it just has to be stable, nothing more. I really like ASRock's utility for fan speed and all, so I really don't care. At least it just has to be stable, and apparently based on other people's reviews this is a pretty stable one, so I'm fine with that. Then we will be coming to the dumb stuff. I bought a Intenso M.2 SSD. It's a SATA SSD with 128 gig. Yeah, surely not the best purchase I've made, but I don't need a NVMe for benchmarks. I mean, a normal SSD is more than quick enough to boot for me, and why would I spend so much money on something more expensive where the power will just be wasted? And on the bright side, this was like 15 bucks, so that's a bit spent. Okay, last purchase, a GT710, the most amazing GPU you will ever see. I mean, just look at this beauty. No fan, nothing. So this is pretty much perfect for the task that I will be using it for. It has no fan, so if I'm recording the noise of a cooler, or if I'm testing it with my little dB meter, this does not produce any sound. I will use a power supply that is not very loud, so it won't produce any sound either. So what I will be recording is solely the cooler, which is just perfect. That's what I need it for. And conveniently it got an HDMI, and I just would need one HDMI, so I'm fine. And additionally, it does not need any PCIe plug. So this is the perfect benchmark GPU. And what I love about this card, it's an Asus by the way, that they do not lie about what it is. Convenient for multitask processing. They are not even lying, not like it's good or it's amazing or gaming or whatever. No, it's just convenient. And it is pretty damn convenient. It was like 40 bucks or something. It's almost slim to nothing. Okay. Let's put this together. Yes, many screws. If this is not the sickest gaming PC you have ever seen, you got something wrong. So I also got a bunch of new gear that just arrived, one of which is the Alpenföhn Brocken 3 in white, because it's actually a pretty old cooler. I just thought it looked really cool and I wanted to try it out. But yeah, for the build it was if not the easiest process of a build that I ever had. I don't know if anybody has a P5, but it's such an easy going case. Just slap it on and you're done. Though just one small little thought about the P5, because I never did a actual review of this thing. And even though it's a really amazing case, you have to keep in mind that the distance that the 8-pin or 4-pin or whatever for the CPU that it has to travel is so ridiculously long, is that you really need to bring an extension. I do not own even one power supply as far as I can tell where I could mount it indirectly. You just need one small extension. For the rest, amazing case, I love it. The PSU that I used is a Intertech Argus 720 watt, and I know that it is not the prettiest with the rainbow cables going on, but no matter how you look at it, I do not need a pretty looking PSU in here. It just needs to work, and that's basically it. Conveniently, this is the exact PSU I used when I did that little video where I replaced the original fan with a Noctua NFF12. And if I remember correctly, it was dead silent afterwards. So this is going to be great for the purpose what I need it for. Okay, cooler is installed. It's a pretty interesting cooler. I find it pretty cool that you can basically switch it around, turn it around, and then it would slightly protrude over the RAM slots, though you can. It is marketed as being RAM compatible with basically everything, so you can just move the fan a bit up and then you are fine, but it's an interesting concept. Yeah, let's try it on. Yay, BIOS, it post 3900X, 2 sticks of RAM, everything is going fine. Yeah, well, it worked. So yeah, the video is over, but for me now it's testing a huge number of coolers and also taking apart my testing rig, because right now there's the Arctic Liquid Freezer 360 in there, so I need it. Okay. But yeah, I hope that this setup now makes it way easier for me to benchmark, especially all-in-ones. Air coolers weren't the big issue, but all-in-ones had the issue of being not hot enough, well, the CPU not being hot enough, to have like a real difference between really good ones. And another issue was just the management of putting it somewhere. Now we have a big spread space here, it can stay here, and I also wanted to start testing, I have 2 water blocks for CPUs that I wanted to compare if there is like a meaningful difference between 2 water blocks, so that video is also coming. But for now, I will test that OpenFin Broken 3 White edition with dual fan setup, because why the hell not? And we will see you in the next one. A Ryzen 3900X, and I'm wasting it on this.